Let's learn how to create a NotebookLM notebook. You're going to start by navigating to notebooklm.google.com. Make sure you're signed in with your school-issued Google account. Choose Create New Notebook. At this point, you can choose if you want to search the web to add sources to your NotebookLM, or if you want to add files, videos, websites of your own. If you have, say, PDF documents from your curriculum or websites and YouTube videos that you use to teach this lesson already, scroll down and choose whatever option you want to add, and you can add those files into your NotebookLM. If you don't have any resources, or maybe you want to add additional resources to your NotebookLM, if you scroll up, that is where you can give it a specific prompt to go find information and resources for you. I am actually going to paste the exact standard that I want to use for this NotebookLM into this area, and I'm going to click enter. It'll start doing its research, and when it's done, it'll populate different sources that you can choose to keep or not keep. So here's the 10 sources that it selected. I can scroll down, I can look at any of these, and if there's any that I don't want to include in my notebook, I can just uncheck the check mark beside any of them, and then it won't include them when I hit the import button. Let those sources input into the notebook. At this point, I want to give my notebook a title. So I told you I selected the exact standard that I want to use for this notebook, so I'm just going to paste that standard and make it the title of my notebook. At this point, what you're seeing is your sources over here on the left. At any point, you can remove, or I can click here and I can add additional sources. Moving over to the right, then you have the chat area. This is where you can ask the AI questions, and it will pull from only the source documents over on the left to generate the response. And then on the right, you have the studio. This is where you can create a variety of resources, such as an audio overview, flashcards, a mind map, an infographic, a quiz, a study guide, based upon the sources that are in the notebook over here on the left. So you can see that these sources are critical to make sure that the notebook is going to serve the purpose that you want it to serve. Let's say that I want to generate an audio overview. If I were to just click on the audio overview card, it's just going to automatically start generating an audio overview for me. But if I click on the little arrow on the card, I can actually give some details of exactly what I want that audio overview to do. So I can choose if I want a deep dive, a brief, a critique, a debate. For this one, I'm going to choose a brief. You can choose whatever language that you wanted in here. And then down at the bottom, you can give the AI any specific guidelines of what you want it to include or not include in that audio overview. And when you're ready, you hit the generate button. You'll notice in the studio over on the right that audio overview is now generating. The same exact process applies if you're going to generate any of these other studio options. While my audio overview is generating, let's talk about some different ways to share the notebook as well as the studio elements with your students. Part of this depends on the age of your students. If your students are over the age of 13, NotebookLM's terms of use say that you can share the notebook directly with them. There's a few different ways to do this. Option number one is if you're in the NotebookLM notebook, you can click on the share button up here at the top. At this point, it looks very similar to sharing with a Google Doc. You can click here in the add people or groups section, and you can add individual students, or if you have a group set up for all students in a class, you can add that in and it will share with any students in that group. Once you share with a person, you can choose whether they have view access or edit access. If they have view access, they can view any items in the studio, they can interact with the chat, but they cannot add, edit, or remove sources. If you give edit access, they can add, edit, and remove sources. One quirk of NotebookLM within Google Workspace for Education is that you can only share with specific people. You can't click a button and say share with anyone with the link like you can with a Google Doc. So sharing is option one to share your NotebookLM with your students if they are over the age of 13. Option number 2, also if your students are over the age of 13, if you use Google Classroom, and if it's been enabled by your Google admin at your district, you have the ability to add a Notebook LM directly as an assignment in Google Classroom. I have generated several different studio options, audio overviews, flashcards, etc. to show you how to share these different options. Depending upon which one it is, you can either click on the option or you can click the play button to get a preview of it. This is an audio overview, so if I wanted to share just this audio overview with students or share it with students under the age of 13, this is your only option. You click the 3 dots next to the option, and then you can choose to download the audio file or you can choose share. If you choose download, it'll download the audio file. You could then upload that into your Google Drive and add it to Google Classroom or another learning management system that you use. If you choose share, it opens up a menu very similar to how we shared the entire notebook, but instead of sharing the entire notebook, you'll just share that audio overview file in this case. And that's it. That's how simple it is to create a Notebook LM and generate different studio items that allow your students to interact with content in different ways.